Today is the 12th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Our first reading is taken from Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 10 to 13. The responsorial psalm from Psalm 69, verse 7, and our response is from verse 13. Our second reading is taken from Romans chapter 5, verse 12 to 15, and the Gospel, Matthew chapter 10, verse 26 to 33. And the theme of our reflection this morning is, you are more valuable. Did you hear that? You are more valuable. Yes. Or you are most valuable. You are so valuable to God. All of us here are very, very valuable to God. Very, very valuable to God. In short, we are the apple of the eye of God. He didn't just create us and let us be like that. He didn't just create us and He's not interested in us. He's interested in each and every one of us. We are the greatest investment of God. You are the greatest investment of God. You know what it means to be an investment, right? You are the greatest investment of God. And each and every one of us is so dear to God. Now, if this is true, why does He allow evil to befall us? If this is true, that we are so dear to God, if this is true, that He takes us serious, we are His greatest investment, why does evil befall us? Why does evil befall me? Why does He allow our enemies to rejoice over us? This was exactly the lament of Jeremiah in today's first reading, in Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 10 to 13. He lamented. He was not happy because God sent him on a mission, and it seems as God had disappointed him. No wonder St. Catherine of Siena said one time while she was praying, she said, if this is how you treat your friend, the Lord, how will you treat your enemies? You know, I remember a story. I don't know whether if the story will drive in this point very well. I remember a story that once happened when I was in secondary school. One morning after our morning function, I attended a minor seminary. While I came back to the hostel, because immediately after our breakfast, the next thing that follows is assembly. Now, immediately after the breakfast, when I was trying to keep my cutleries, went to the hostel to keep my things to go down, you barely have 5 to 10 minutes to get to the assembly ground. So the punctuality prefect, who was in my hostel, asked me to help him dress his bed and clean his corner before I come for assembly. So since he's the one who sent me, why will I be in a hurry? So I took my time, dressed his bed, arranged everything, and I was on my way to the assembly ground. Now, from a distance, I could see, you know, the way latecomers have been caught back then is they carry latecomers in batches. There's the first batch, second batch, and third batch. Now, the first batch, the punishment varies according to the batches. The first batch receives 6 strokes. Second batch is times 2, that's 12. Then the third batch is times 2. 12 times 2 is what? 24. Are we together? Now, because I was so late, I was in the third batch. So, feeling so confident that it was the punctuality, and unfortunately, it was the senior prefect who was in charge of gathering the latecomers that day. So, and it was actually his classmate. So I was so confident that nothing was going to happen. So I went to, while I just passed everybody, I wanted to tell him that it was the punctuality prefect was there, the senior prefect was there. And I wanted to say, it was this person that sent me. He said, if I slap you, just go back there and join your group. That was when I knew that I was in a big trouble already. So I was thinking that maybe he would, so he was trying to whisper to him that no, I sent him and everything. Maybe he was so, you know, at that very time when you want to exercise your authority and everything. And I was put in the third batch. When he wanted to start flogging me, after flogging like 2 or 3, and his classmate was trying to explain to him, asked me to go back and kneel down there. And left me there for quite some time. So I started saying to myself, if I had known, I would have not done, I would just disobey you and go and do. I just come straight to assembly and anything I want to happen, let it happen. But something happened afterwards. He came back and apologized. The person who did the same thing came back and apologized. In short, that particular incident made me, I enjoyed some privileges. You know, the senior prefect was so angry. I mean, he was so sorry for what he had done. And he came later on to, you know, in the refectory, asked me, is the food enough for you? I said, no, he'll bring his own and give to me. You know, back then, we had scarcity of water. So when there's a very long queue for us to fetch water and he's there, he will ask me to go and fetch mine. And, you know, so I enjoyed some privilege. At the end, you could see how it works. Now, many persons ask this question, how come God loves us so much, but he allows evil to happen to us? The same thing was what Jeremiah faced in today's reading. We were told that Jeremiah was born in a time, or he lived in a time when the people of Israel suffered so much. The king of Babylon was taking over the territories of Israel. The military, the Israeli military and their service chief didn't know what to do. And why the religious leaders were telling the people that don't worry, God is in control, don't worry, things are okay, people should not complain. Because they to themselves, they didn't know what to do. Now God picked, Jeremiah was timid. He was a timid person. And he was one person who doesn't like conflict at all. And God picked Jeremiah and asked him to go and tell the authorities that this thing you are doing is what? Is foolishness. Jeremiah said, okay, since it was God who sent me, he decided to go. When he went to tell he came before the authorities and told them that this thing people are doing is foolishness. And after condemning them, what happened? They beat him up, put him in prison. They were not tired of putting him, they brought him out and put him in a sockaway, a muddy sock. You know what sockaway is, right? They put him inside. That was when Jeremiah lamented. What kind of thing is this? You sent me. Why did you allow this kind of thing to happen to me? God, where are you when all this is? You are the one who asked me to do this particular thing. You are the one who asked me to stand for your word. So how come, in standing for your word, I'm suffering this? My dear friends, this is exactly what happens to us as individuals. And because we are afraid of the consequences that happens when we stand for the truth, what happens? We are afraid. We are so scared. Nobody wants to do something. Nobody wants to come out. And you know one thing, the story of Israel, the story we receive today, is the same story. It's like the scriptures is talking about our situation today as a nation. All of us want change. All of us want things to turn around. All of us want things to become better. But nobody wants to come out and stand for the truth. Why? Because I am afraid. You are afraid. So this Jeremiah story is indeed our story. And because of this, one thing I want us to understand is that God has blessed Nigeria. He has blessed. See, I keep saying this, that Nigeria is the most blessed nation in the whole world. But just like the psalmist tells us in Psalm 49 verse 20, that in his riches man lack what? Wisdom. And so because of the troubles, because of the things that will accompany the fact that we stand for the truth, many of us are afraid. We live in so much fear. Fear of being killed. Fear of being sacked. Fear of being hated. Fear of being demoted. Fear of not being patronized. Fear of not being promoted. Fear of being impeached. Fear of being arrested. And fear of being alone. Each and every one of us, some of us suffer some of these fears. I don't want to come out and talk now. If I talk now, they will not promote me. I'm due for promotion. Once I talk now and listen, they are doing this bad, they will not promote me again. And so on and so forth. Many of us can link this to that which happens to our lives daily. We are so afraid of those who can kill the body and cannot kill the soul. That's what Jesus tells us in today's gospel. We are so much afraid. And he tells us, do not fear any man. Do not fear the person who can kill the body. Fear him rather who can destroy both body and soul in hell. The question is, why are we afraid? Some of us, or many, may be afraid because they're not convinced of their relationship with God. Many are afraid that they are not convinced of their relationship with God. Some, it is because of their life of sin. You know, St. Paul in today's second reading in in Romans chapter 5, verse 12 to 15. Sometimes some persons find that particular passage very difficult to understand. There are two key words. There are two key words that St. Paul used in that particular reading: sin and death. You know, when you talk about death physically, there are two types. What is called clinical death and absolute death. In clinical death is when the doctor says, we have lost him, he's dead. It's also possible that the doctor must have certified that this person is dead. And sometimes have happened that doctors have said this person is dead. After some hours, after some days, the person does what? He comes back to life. It has happened before. Are we together? But when you say someone is absolutely dead, it means that the soul have been what? Have been separated from the body. We're talking about physical death. But when you talk about spiritual death, it means that the soul is separated from God. Are we together? So when St. Paul uses the word thanatos, he's talking about a separation. A separation is involved. And this separation can either be physical or what? Or spiritual. In terms of spirituality right now, the soul is being separated from God. And that's why when he said that through one man, what? Sin came into the world. Adam sinned. The death that Adam, when God told Adam in Genesis chapter 3, chapter 2 and chapter 3, that if you eat of this particular food, you shall die. He was not talking about a physical death. He was talking about a what? What? A spiritual death. That spiritual death that separates him. So when we are in sin, we are what? We are dead. We are separated from God. And because we are separated from God, we are afraid of the outcome of anything that happens to us. Isn't it? That what happens. So like I said, two things. Why are we afraid? Two things. It may be because we are not sure, we are not convinced of our relationship with God, or because of the life of sin. And because of the life of sin, and because we are not sure of our relationship with God, what happens? We tend to compromise. We tend to say, if I don't follow them now, this kind of thing will happen to me. So let me just join them and do what is So courage now, what does courage mean? Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is when we trust God. When trust dominates what? Fear. So Jesus tells us today, you are of great value. Fear not. You are more valuable than sparrows. You are more valuable than sparrows. Don't be afraid. Of course, when you stand for the truth, the outcome may not be too pleasant. It may not be too nice. But there's something I want us to understand this morning. It will always end in praise. You know why? Because God values us more than anything. Many of us here are so much afraid because we are not sure of what the next word is like. And you know, nobody have died and come and tell us that, man, do fast and come, man, heaven makes sense. Have you ever seen anybody? I'm talking about those persons who are those attention seekers who tell us that they died for 3 days and God took them to heaven. I'm not talking about those. Somebody who dies and comes back and tells you, my brother, do fast and come to heaven. Make heaven make sense. Nobody have done that. And there are many persons are not even sure. They want to grab everything in this life. And because they want to grab everything, is that what happens? They compromise. They become cowards. They cannot tell their bosses to the face that this thing you are doing is wrong. They cannot tell their masters that this thing you are doing is wrong. It's not unacceptable. God does not like this. God does not love this. And let me tell you something. Many Christians prefer to gossip rather than telling people the truth. Have you noticed that? They prefer to gossip rather than telling people the truth. Let me tell you what I mean here. Your boss is a thief. He's not doing well. Or he or she is not doing well. He or she is irresponsible. What do? Rather than tell him that this thing is wrong, because you know if you tell him to the face, he will give you a sack letter. What happened? You prefer to sit at your comfort zone or with your clique or with your friends and discuss him. What are you doing? You are gossiping. And that does not effect any change. Social media have made a lot of us here gossips. That is the reason why Nigeria will never change until we get to stand for what is truth. It will never. I keep saying this, it will never change until you and I are ready to stand for that which is true. Until they're able to question the system. Or they're able to hold them accountable for what is going on. Things will never change. Now when somebody will just wake up and tell you that we are sharing palliatives for, we are feeding children who are at home. Children are in their father's house, but they have spent billions of dollars and naira in feeding them in their father's house. Because nobody here, because some persons are even benefiting from such kind of fraud. That is it. So this will never, the system can never change. When Christians, when you and I are cowards, when we don't want to talk, everybody is quiet. You only rant. You know what many of us do in social media is hypocrisy. Even those persons who are involved in the evil are even criticizing the evil that they are involved in. Simple reason. Because nobody, like Jeremiah, some persons, somebody don't want to, so many of us don't want what happened to Jeremiah to happen to us. So no, let me just mind my business. But you're not actually minding your business, you are gossiping behind. You are gossiping behind. Which is more evil, which is more sinful. Jesus tells us this morning, he tells us today. He tells us today, fear not. Whoever defends me, whoever stands for me, I will defend before my Father. It is a promise. He said that. And whoever denies me, you know what it means to deny God? You know what it means to deny Jesus? When we don't stand for the truth. When we don't stand for the truth, we deny Jesus. We compromise. We make up, no problem. Let's just manage. We'll just leave it like that. We compromise. When we don't stand for the truth, we deny Jesus. But when we stand for the truth, he will defend us here, he will defend us there. And that was why, if it was the end of the first reading, as it was ended from verse 11 to 13, what happened? We see how the reading ended. Jeremiah praised God. He praised God. Now I know that you are my defender. Now I know that you are my protector. And I will always praise you forever. That is how it ends for those who trust, for those who believe. Jesus invites you and I this morning that you and I are very valuable. Don't waste your value. Don't sell your value for money. Don't sell your value for fame. Don't sell your value for promotion. Don't sell your value for position. Don't. He tells you you are more valuable than sparrows. Sparrows are birds that are the cheapest. That are the cheapest in the time of Jesus. So don't sell your value for those cheap things. They are too cheap to be compared to you. And that way he tells us something. He says something. He said, even though God cares for all these things, not a hair of your head will be lost. They are all numbered. You know what that means? It means that no matter what you face here in life, nothing. You will lose nothing. Are you getting that assurance? You will lose what? You will lose nothing. Both here and after here. You will lose nothing. Because every hair of your head have been numbered. You know what it means to count the hair? How many persons can count the number of hair on his head? If what Jesus said here, that it means that you will lose nothing. You will not lose anything. All he wants you to do is to stand for him. You should be ready to stand for him. We should be ready to stand for him because he values you and I. May God bless his words in our hearts through Christ.